which has skyrocketed to its highest level in 28 years. When Harper became the Prime Minister on January 23, 2006, the unemployment rate was 6.1% of the workforce. In October 2008, when Harper announced there would be no deficit and no recession, the unemployment rate was 6.2%. And what that really means is 1,120,000 Canadians are out of work that are looking for work. And a year later, in October 2009, the unemployment rate has jumped up a lot. It's 8.4% of the workforce, and that means 1,550,000 Canadians are now out of work. Now, that's 330,000 more Canadians out of work in 1 year since last election, at 28,000 job losses each month. With fewer Canadians with jobs in the private sector and opportunity diminish, many more Canadians will become pot growers, particularly as, the prices are going to rise of pot. And that's going to create more demand, and it's going to create more incentive for people to leave their old industries and start growing pot for a living, even though they risk going to jail and having their family broken up. One final area I want to talk about is our military continues to wage a 7-year, $24 billion so far, expensive, futile war in Afghanistan. Canadians forget that if Stephen Harper were Prime Minister in 2002 or 2003, Canadians would have died in Iraq as well. Harper was eager to join the holy Christian crusade against Islam in Iraq, and from what I've told you, you understand why. Well, Chrétien, he said no, while Harper said yes to war in Iraq. Harper pacified recently an already cowed NDP opposition to Canadian soldiers in Afghanistan and their opposition to it, when led by the feckless Jack Layton by saying our participation will end in 2011. Now, Harper is now modifying that by saying our combat role will be wound down in 2011, but that troops may be staying longer. With 130 Canadians dead, over 600 wounded, and possibly 3,000 suffering post-traumatic stress syndrome for no visible improvement in any measurable goals, that is stable Afghan government or democracy or women's right, infrastructure, etc., and with the Taliban more powerful than ever, occupying or controlling fully 2/3 of the countryside of Afghanistan, the Harper government continues to mismanage our forces and the objectives of our participation. For example, captured detainees who are captured or arrested by Canadian forces are handed to Afghans who routinely torture them. Canadian soldiers observe Afghan soldiers, police, and authorities raping young boys as young as 8 years old with impunity. Canadian soldiers refer to it as Man Love Thursday in a sick sarcasm. The Harper government has steadfastly refused to cooperate with the Military Police Complaints Commission probe into Afghan detainee abuse. The Harper government refuses to release a key diplomatic eyewitness reports of prisoner torture. Former Canadian Commander-in-Chief of our forces in Afghanistan, Rick Hillier, has said Canadian forces are badly served by the government bureaucracy in Ottawa. In his book, A Soldier First, just released, Hillier recalls many instances where the Harper government tried to silence or marginalize both he and his critical reports on the conduct of the war. The costs of the war are now classified, unavailable to the media or even opposition parties, with the explanation that such details would be used by Al-Qaeda to attack Canadian troops. So there you have it. Stephen Harper is a fundamentalist zealot out to punish those he regards as infidels, both here and abroad. He has broken and betrayed every 1993 Reform Party promise. Unemployment is much higher under his watch. Government spending is exploding. The deficit in 1 year is unprecedented, with worse to come. The Senate has not been reformed, but has been exploited. The courts are being stacked with reactionaries. Patronage has never been more partisan or brazen. More prisons are being built at an unprecedented rate to house a huge increase of prisoners. Pork barrel politics is brazen. A war that can't be won stagnates at great cost in blood and treasure. All the power of the government is in the Prime Minister's office, and Tory backbenchers are more compliant and acquiescent than ever before. There are no free votes in Parliament. Every vote is a confidence vote, according to the bully Harper. Imagine what a Conservative majority would look like to this country, would do to this country, and we only have a Conservative minority now. It's all pretty grim, but that's why I'm telling you this. Canada, as we've known it, tolerant, democratic, safe, and relatively free, is at great risk of being lost. So what can you do? Well, science and inertia is just not an option. Get off your ass and assert yourself as a citizen. Join a political party and go to their meetings. Get involved in the candidate nomination process. Give donations of money to the few good MPs out there and any new candidates with promise. That like Libby Davies, Bill Sixay, Alex Atamenko, Keith Martin, Elizabeth May. Give money to them. That's how these Tory scum prosper, when we are silent and inactive. We can't let that happen anymore. Make an appointment for 10 minutes minutes to speak with your own member of parliament on the weekend when they're at their constituency office. Tell them what you think and why, and watch how they vote in Ottawa. Most potheads do not vote, but our enemies and adversaries do. The fundamentalists do. The religious freaks do. The Harperites do. That's a huge mistake for us when we don't vote. Look what inaction has done for us. There's big trouble ahead. Hold a sign in front of your member of parliament's constituency office as they continue their evil ways. 4 hours a day, 1 day a week could lose that MP hundreds and hundreds of votes come election day with a good effective sign. Give money to Jody Emery's Green Party candidacy in the upcoming federal election. Jody's campaign is all about bashing the Conservative Party record. Inaction on your part is to invite our extermination as a culture. Consider what I have given you to work with. The facts, the truth, Harper's terrifying record and his apocalyptic agenda for our way of life in Canada. Go out and make a difference. Remember, I did this from an 8-foot by 10-foot jail cell, every word of it. So out there you can do a lot. And you are not in here yet in a jail cell, but you might well be if you do not act now. Please help me save Canada.
For more information on Marc Emery, go to cannabisculture.com.
Marc Emery may go down south. He's got a brain and he uses his mouth. A little loud, so he got caught. The whole world knows he's the Prince of Pot. He's the Prince of Pot.